which is not masculinity? What is that form which is vitality? The persistence of these corporeal states. Their subsistence, their going on, their being kept going on, their progress, continuance, preservation, life as faculty, this is that form which is vitality. What is that form which is not vitality? Intimation. What is that form which is bodily intimation? What is that form which is not bodily intimation? The sphere of vision and bodily nutriment, this is that form which is bodily intimation. What is that form which is vocal intimation? What is that form which is not vocal intimation? The sphere of vision and bodily nutriment, this is that form which is not, etc. Space and fluid. What is that form which is the element of space? That which is space and belongs to space, is sky, belongs to sky, is vacuum, belongs to vacuum, and is not in contact with the four great phenomena. This is that form which is the element of space. What is that form which is not the element of space? What is that form which is the element of fluidity? That which is fluid and belongs to fluid, that which is viscid and belongs to viscid. The cohesiveness of form, this is that form which is the element of fluidity. What is that form which is not the element of fluidity? Modes of form. What is that form which is lightness of form? That lightness of form which is its capacity for changing easily, its freedom from sluggishness and inertia, this is that form which is lightness of form. What is that form which is not lightness of form? The sphere of vision and bodily nutriment, this is that form which is not lightness of form. Questions on the other two modes of form, plasticity and wieldiness, are answered by the descriptions given in. The corresponding contradictory terms are described in the same terms as in, viz. as in, with the omissions and insertion as indicated on p.n. Evolution of form. What is that form which is the integration of form? That which is accumulation of form is the integration of form, this is that form which is, etc. What is that form which is not the integration of form? The sphere of vision and bodily nutriment, this is that form which is not, etc. Questions on the subsistence, decay, and impermanence of form and their contradictories are answered analogously with those in the group on modes of form, the three positives being described as in nutrition. What is that form which is bodily nutriment? This is answered as in. What is that form which is not bodily nutriment? The sphere of vision and the impermanence of form, this is that form which is not bodily nutriment. Such are the categories of form under dual aspects. End of the exposition of the pairs. Footnotes. This and the following italicized headings are quoted from the table of contents, etc. Athi rupam upada, and again, athi rupam no upada. The ablative resembles our idiom, qua derived, form as derived. In and in, etc. The gerund upad aa is employed. Depending on, not released from, is the paraphrase. Grounded in, were an approximate rendering, the literal meaning being, taking hold of. Ayatanam. The word means simply, field, locus, range, gebit. Lit. Body. The Upanishads use, skin. C.F. Our modern term, skin sensibility, in extension of, touch, tactile sense. The corresponding objective, sphere of the tangible, is classed among things WN derived. C. Kaku, which stands for vision, sense of sight and eye. I, however, is always in the present work to be understood as the seeing faculty or visual sense, and not as the physical organ or eye of flesh. The psi gives an account of the I, of which the following is the substance. First, the aggregate organism. A ball of flesh fixed in a cavity, bound by the socket bone beneath and by the bone of the eyebrow above, by the angles of the eye at the sides, by the brain within and by the eyelashes without. There are 14 constituents. The 4 elements. The 6 attributes dependent on them, viz. Color, odor, taste, sap of life, form, and collocation. Vitality, nature, body sensibility, and the visual sentient organ. The last 4 have their source in karma. When the world, seeing an obvious extended white object fancies it perceives the eye, it only perceives the basis of the eye. And this ball of flesh, bound to the brain by nerve fibers, is white, black and red, and contains the solid, the liquid, the lambent and the gaseous. It is white by superfluity of humor, black by superfluity of bile, red by superfluity of blood, rigid by superfluity of the solid, exuding by superfluity of the liquid, inflamed by superfluity of the lambent, quivering by superfluity of the gaseous. But that sentient organ which is there bound, inherent, derived from the 4 great principles, this is the visual sense. Placed in the midst and in the front of the black disk of the composite eye. The white disk surrounding it and in the circle of vision. In the region where the forms of adjacent bodies come to appear, it permeates the 7 ocular membranes as sprinkled oil will permeate 7 cotton wicks. And so it stands, aided by the 4 elements. Sustaining, binding, maturing, moving, like an infant prince and his 4 nurses. Feeding, bathing, dressing and fanning him. Maintained by nutriment both physical and mental. Protected by the span of life, invested with color, smell, taste and so forth, in size the measure of a louse's head, stands duly constituting itself the door of the seat of visual cognitions, etc. For as it has been said by the commander of the doctrine, the visual sense by which he beholds forms is small and delicate, comparable to a louse's head. The elaborate architectonics of this paragraph in the original is a fine effort of the commentator's style. I am not clear to what the etc. after cognitions alludes. But the expression occurs in the description of each sense. C.A.F. The description in Hardy, Man. Of Buddhism, p. Posado. By selecting this term, continues the Sai. He rejects the other I. So far as I know, the as yet unidentified verses quoted in the previous note are the only early instance of the word pasado, meaning literally clearness, brightness, serenity, faith, being used to denote the receptive reacting sense agency. It is not easy to divine exactly how the Buddhists came to use the word in this connection. It is used coordinately for all the other senses. Hence the sensuous signification had nothing to do with the specific nature of sight. Taken causatively it may conceivably have meant either that which makes clear, a revealer, as it were, or that which gratifies or satisfies, both meanings emphasizing psychological process, rather than product, or seat. Attabhava Pariyapano. The body and the 5 skandhas are here termed nature of the self, after the usage of foolish folk who say, "This is myself." Thus the usage of attabhavo was a concession on the part of the great teacher to animistic phraseology. I.e. impact and reaction are set up in the I. Paraphrased by I am Sato, any given individual. This and the following similes will be quotations of metaphors applied to the senses in the Sutta Pitaka. E.g. that of the empty village occurs in S.I.V. Suno Gamo Tiko, Bicave, Chanam Arjatikanam, Ayatananam Adhivakanam. That of a door, which in the age of the commentaries was the regular term for sense organ, is, I believe, seldom used in the Sutta Pitaka, and then only as a poetical figure, not as a technical term. C.F. E.g. Indriya Sagutadvaro. Buddhaghosa simply paraphrases the various metaphors. World, by reason of wasting and decay. Door, by reason of customary resort. Ocean, by reason of its insatiableness. Lucent, by reason of its purity. Field, by reason of the springing up of contact, etc. Base, by reason of its fixed seat. Guide, guidance, by reason of its leading the nature of the self showing agreements and differences. Hither shore, by reason of its being included in the body of this life. Empty village, because it is common to many, because there is no headman. Ego or soul. Many, must mean the individual considered as an aggregate of constituents. Closing parenthesis. The metaphors, it will be seen, are applied equally, with the sole exception of guide and guidance, to each remaining sense. By the explanation of these two figures given in the Sai, they should have been left to stand for each sense. Buddhaghosa, however, is of course not responsible for the expressions used in the Pitakas. Yet it is slightly disappointing that he makes no effort to account for an omission which is not without psychological justification. In this answer, according to the Sai, involuntary visual sensation is described as when lightning flashes on the sight of one not looking for it. Here we have voluntary sense impression described, the process in the case of one who, by his own desire, seeking to look at some object, concentrates his vision. Kakam nisaya, rupam arabhava. Here there should be in the text p, as in the corresponding passage for the other four senses. Cf. Note. In K. It is also inadvertently omitted here. Kakavinfianani here replaces the fourth mode of consciousness. See it tan, or thought, in the series invariably stated as aroused by contact, in connection with the 8 types of thought given in Book 1, Chap. I. Thinking may stand for a train of ideas set going by the sensation having no special reference to the visible object as such. Visual cognition, on the other hand, would take special account of the thing seen. Or possibly the two are to be considered as corresponding approximately to process and product. Cf. What has been said above on both terms, p. n. Judging by the corresponding passages in, by K. and by the comments of Buddhaghosa, I find that the following passage has been erroneously omitted in the text before the words kakam patam. P. Yam kakam nisaya ruparamano kakusamfaso upaji va upajati va upajasati va upaj va, yam kakam nisaya ruparamana kakusamfasaja vedana. P. Sana. P. Satana. P. Kakuvananam upaji va upajati va upaji va upaj va. Cf. Also. According to the Sai, this reply, when rehearsed in full, reveals 10 distinct answers, each commencing with the refrain. The I, that is to say, etc. 2. Self, invisible and reacting. They may be summarized and generalized thus. Sense impression or contact, as conditioned by sense organ and sense stidus. Exultant feeling. Kesultant intellectual states. Sense impression or contact, as conditioned by sense organ and idea of sense object. Exultant states as in. What was precisely the difference between the processes named as and? It is not yet easy to determine with certainty. This, situated within the cavity of the aggregate organism of the ear, and W*L furnished with fine reddish hairs, is in shape like a little finger stall. Cf. Hardy, lock, c. dot, on the emission of, a guide, etc. cp. n. dot. This is situated, inside the cavity of the aggregate nasal organism, in appearance like a goat's hoof. C.F. Hardy, lock, cit. Probably the hoof is imagined as regarded from below. Dot. This is situated, above the middle of the aggregate gustatory organism, in appearance like the upper side of the leaf of a lotus. C.F. Hardy, lock, cit. The palate apparently was not included in the gustatory apparatus. Dot. The sphere of Ko, so runs the comment, is diffused over the whole bodily form just as oil pervades an entire cotton rag. With the exception of this quality of relatively undifferentiated organ, the sense is coordinate with the other senses. To the objection that, if the sensitive surface be indeed so general it would convey confused impressions, it is counter-asserted that, if it were not so general, tactile impressions could not be adequately differentiated. Strictly speaking, the body sense is both everywhere and not everywhere. Not everywhere to the extent of being in things as seen or as tasted. We cannot segregate and analyze sensations as we can grains of sand, and hence qualities are said to coalesce in the object. Nevertheless, each mode of sense conveys its specific messages. Such seems to me the substance of what I have clothed to a slight extent in terms of Western psychology. The commentary is of course tentative and groping, as elsewhere in its theory of sense. Yet it must not be forgotten that it was not till about 50 years ago that Ernst Weber's Der Tastsinn und das Gemeingefühl appeared, containing the positive results of a comparison of different skin areas from the standpoint of their varying ability to convey clear or vague tactile impressions. Dot. Literally, body contact. Dot. Literally, cognition of body, so rendered in secu. Dot. Sapatigam, here paraphrased as producing reaction and impact. ASL. Dot. Compared to the umapupum, or flax blossom. Cf. My remark on Nilam above, under. Here the term is illustrated by an azure flower, such as we ourselves might quote as a type of blue. And yet even here the wide range and indefiniteness of the word find expression. For, according to Bothell and Eoth, on the authority of Hemachandra, Uma is applied to night. Dot. Like the blossom of Pterosperma Macerifolium and Pentapetro Phoenicia respectively. I give these on Childer's authority. Dot. Like the morning star and charcoal respectively. Dot. Like the reddish buds of the Vitex negudo and Canavera trees. Hari, omitted in the text, but given in K and the Psi. Whereas, in the verse Haritakahemavanam kamam sumukarpakama, Hari is spoken of as golden, by its being elsewhere taken.